That looks a little hazy, doesn't it? Let's do this again. I think I'm going to do this in a better area. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Let me put you down for a second, I'll be right back. Alright. Oh, it got fuzzy again. Let's fix that. Oh, damn it. This selfie stick, I gotta buy one because this one here is not designed to be with a phone this big. Really sorry about the video, guys. For a second, bear with me, bear with me. Oh, shit. I don't think it wants to work at all now. Okay, there it goes, there it goes. Okay, are we good? We're good. Quit being so rough with us. That's constitutional. Alright, so this is right at City of Leon Valley Council Chambers, where they wouldn't let me speak because they didn't consider me a quote-unquote resident, which is a real nasty word. Go look that up in Black's Law Dictionary. You're going to want no part of being a resident or of having a residency. Wow, already 150. Wow. Alright, so for those of you who didn't catch the ending or whatever, the chief just came out and wanted to speak with me. We came to agreement on the terms of that talk, and we talked, and then I came out and talked about it with the people who were around filming, and then I wrapped that up and grabbed my phone, and now we're doing part 2. Alright, so I'll try to pick up where I left off. Oh, let's see. So I don't like, let me just start by saying I don't prefer to identify with a group. And the reason why, I mean, I do like to, I just don't like, I like to myself. I don't like to because of the effect it has on other people. When I identify with any group whatsoever, there are always people out there who believe they know exactly everything about that group, and they either instantly approve of you or disapprove of you and dismiss you. So why be part of the group, right? You can still say what you got to say. In fact, if you don't identify with a group, they actually have to listen to you more to actually determine, okay, so what is it this guy actually is doing? Now, quite often, people who aren't very skilled or open to actual civil discourse and meaningful dialogue will listen only to you so that they can categorize you. Oh, you're conservative. Oh, you're liberal. Oh, you're a silly libertarian. Oh, the open market, right? Oh, you fool. So I don't try to identify with any group, all right? Try not to hold it against me if you're offended by that. Hi, everybody. Hi, Rika. Hi, China Lynn. All that. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to pay attention much to the comments. This is one of those where I blab too much. But I am going to tell you how I beat judges, and I'm going to tell you why I was saying what I was saying, and why it was effective enough to get the chief out here to talk to me about, oh, not everybody's phone. Not giving the people their money back who had their car stolen. Oh, no, it was only about my phone. As if, even if he handed it to me and said, sorry, man, as if I would come out here with anything different to say. I mean, if you came out with my phone and a check for 10 grand, I'd still come out here and say the same stuff. You can't make me go away by bribing me or trying to get me things. I'm not oriented that way. There's no payoff to what the affliction that I have in giving me stuff. And likewise, you can't threaten it out of me. You can't coerce it out of me. You can't point a gun to my head and tell me, don't believe this anymore, and get me to be like, oh, okay. In the moment, I'll agree. But the second you remove the gun from my head and I'm safe again, I'm going to be like, F that guy. Like, you can't undo me this way. It's not going to happen. So how am I oriented out of any group? Well, I think that anyone who's listening to this is either very polarized. Either you support the police and the state or you support those who want to hold the state accountable. If you are to the core someone who wants to hold the state accountable and actually know what it feels like to live a free life at some point before you die without moving out of this quote-unquote country, then I think if that's how you're oriented, you're already a voluntarist, whether you know it or believe it or not. And the reason why I think that is because I could ask you a series of questions, and I know you would give certain answers, and that those answers would lead exactly to what voluntarism is. Now, voluntarism is, of course, we don't want coercive threats of force for interactions with guns and licenses and fines and jail cells. We want voluntary interactions. And you don't have to read anything out of a book to know what I'm talking about. If you go get your car fixed, is it a compulsory service, or do you have an option, or a voluntary service? You have a choice. And that same choice extends to everything under the sun. It could, even police, even justice, even politics. Now my detractors would be like, oh, you're an open market loon. The open market can fix anything, fix anything. Dismiss, dismiss, dismiss. That's not what I'm saying. I only say what I mean, and others have not said what I mean or know what I mean. So just judge me on my own stuff. But everything about this place that we can't stand could be done in a voluntary fashion. The problem is, the psychopaths who climb these ladders of power and are rewarded for their violence and their propensity to use violence and to be silenced when violence is happening around them would have to be out of business and be disempowered and most likely end up in jail cells of their own after we empty all of the existing jail cells of all victims of non-violent, victimless criminal charges. I'll briefly say that before moving on, that to end all non-violent victimless criminal charges ends things like property tax, all tax, child support, traffic court, the drug war, and all the money that comes in through civil asset forfeiture, all the way down to, oh damn it, how am I forgetting that term right now? Gosh dang it. Someone help me out. It's when your house is in the middle of a highway plan and they need to take your house for the highway. Oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. It's on the tip of my brain. Eminent domain. Nobody helped me out. Oh, right before you helped me out, I got it. Eminent domain. Eminent domain, yes, eminent domain. All the way down to that. In order to get rid of nonviolent victimless criminal charges, you'd have to get rid of all of that. And of course that is, I'm just going to venture a guess, 90% is a safe conservative estimate, I think, of how much input, that financial input, the government profits from the infliction of nonviolent victimless criminal charges. So to transfer to a system of nonviolent victimless, where those charges don't exist, it would bankrupt the government completely. And believe me, they're fully aware of it. They're fully aware of it. All right. So am I suggesting that we instantly convert tomorrow to the way I think is best? Well, absolutely not, obviously. Like a slow transition should be in order, right? A slow transition should be in order. Okay, now, take this into consideration. Do you think these psychopaths at the top with the power on the guns, do you think they're going to give up that power? Just be like, oh, they caught us, they called the illusion, they called a spade, we can no longer be in business, we better just give up, hand over the keys to power, and we'll go about our merry way? No, of course they're not going to do that. They're going to give like they've always given outside of this country. This is the history of humanity 101 going on here when it comes to government and citizens. They'll take from the citizens, bribe violent men who are willing to use violence and guns or whatever the current weapon is, swords, whatever, to rule. Okay, so then how are we to overcome this problem? The only solution I see is either anonymous, lethal self-defense, a technology that is not commonly understood or people aren't capable of, but soon will be, or you convince sheep. If anybody's got a better suggestion, I might change the entire course of my actions based on a better idea. They're not going to give it up. They're not going to let us vote it away. We're going to have to take it. And in order to take it, you've got to be able to say no and have the force to back up that no. If you don't have the force to back up that no, you are ultimately powerless no matter what illusion you've been sold. This is why the government monopolizes currencies. Mint a new coin and see what the government does to you. Because they don't want the competition, right? You're going to have to take it. A lot of people don't like that. They're not comfortable with that. They're like, wait a minute. I've been told my whole life, like I was, by the way, that you were just so lucky that you were born in the greatest country in the world, and it's the most free, and it's got the most money, and look how full the grocery stores are, and look how much public education there is, and look, you've got a nice TV, and carpet, and shelter, and a little job that you got to slave away at for 40 hours a week at least. Look how amazing your life is. Okay, it's really uncomfortable. It puts people off big time to face that and go, gosh, what if I was born into a police state of domestic terrorism and I don't even know it? And I've turned a blind eye to it because I've been obeying so that it wouldn't land on me, so that I wouldn't have to suffer consequences that these other people have to suffer. What if I've been indifferent and callous and cold to my fellow human, and that now I'm paying the price for that, and we are collectively? People don't want to face that. Well, where I'm going with all this is people don't want red pills. And there's more than one. If you think you took one and you're good, you are mistaken. And I claim rarely, but I will boldly and easily claim that, because I can back it up with your own words, not even mine. The reason why the chief came out has nothing to do with the goodness of his heart wanting me to give me my phone. All due respect to the way the chief approached me and spoke to me and offered a little bit of human dignity. I'm not saying he's a piece of shit. I'm not saying, he's just... I'm not saying anything about him other than he's an order follower, and we all know how I feel about order following. It's just he is caught in a trap of using his most effective survival mechanism in this cruel world, in this world of suffering. He's just using the best survival mechanism he knows how, and he doesn't have any triggers in his mind that punish him if he takes advantage of other human beings while doing so. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I don't believe in making unnecessary enemies. Lieutenant Anderson, on the other hand, I will never forget. Nor will I forgive. So, voluntarism. Let me track back. People are afraid of the word anarchism because the government knows how on target it is, and that's why they put out so much propaganda against it. The movies, the CIA warnings, the media, Antifa, that's anarchy. It has nothing to do with it. People just don't want to go and read about something that was ignored in history class in your public education. It was ignored for a reason. There have been serious movements of anarchism in the past, dating back hundreds of years. Powerful, powerful speakers, far more articulate than I, who are putting far more on the line than I, in a world far more brutal than the one I currently inhabit. And there's power in that. And that is at your fingertips. You have the internet, you can read about these people. You want a humanist in a feminine form? Look up Emma Goldman. Emma Goldman. And that's just one. Anarchism is nothing to be afraid of. It doesn't have anything to do with the cookbook or Molotov cocktails or chaos. Yes, there are those elements who identify with the word anarchy and do nonsense. That is not anarchism. Anarchism is one thing and one thing only. And I would hope that anyone with common sense would actually look at the meaning of the root of the words to determine what it means. And the word anarchism means no rulers. It does not mean no rules. Human beings have innate knowledge of appropriate behavior, more or less. We know basic fairness from the day we're born. Any 2-year-old can tell you, you're not the boss of me, or hey, that's not fair. Any 2-year-old can do it, but we forget this when we become adults, out of fear. Anarchism doesn't mean no rules, okay? It means peaceful interactions, voluntary interactions. It does not mean constitutions. It does not mean master-slave. It does not mean any one person is above the quote-unquote law. Truly, it means that. It means no rulers. Why would you vote for another human being to have power over you? Are you not capable of determining what's correct and appropriate behavior during lifetime? Do you not think that as a community we could come up collectively with answers and solutions on how to deal with those who do not? How much unnecessary suffering is caused in this country alone that shatters out into networks that cause additional suffering for others because of the way the system currently is? Case in point, how many innocent people, men, women, and children, go to jail, prisons, and come out far more damaged than when they went in the name of rehabilitation, when in actuality it's only, hey, if you're not going to work a job and pay us your taxes, you're going to serve in our jails and make money through contracts. Grease wheels of the people in power. There is no solution in the current form of the United States federal, state, county, or city governments, including that of Leon Valley, nor vested in men such as Joseph I'm going to try to say this word with respect because we've been making fun of it. Savaggio? That's my best attempt. Or Chris Riley, the mayor, or whoever that guy is, Morales, the part-time chief, part-time judge, rather, Morales. So anarchism and voluntarism is a society of voluntary interactions. Hey, are you best at providing this service? Okay, maybe I'll patronize you, but you have competition, so you have to truly be the best. People are fearful animals, and they want their best survival strategy. Not everybody has a advantageous gene pool from which they were drawn, and this creates difficulties. A voluntaristic society offers hierarchies of competence in every industry and the manufacture of any good or service you can imagine. We all are uniquely gifted in certain areas of life. There are hierarchies of competence that just about everyone could find and specialize in and be one of the best at. Yes, will difficult work have to be done? Well, yes, as animals we produce filth and waste, and it's got to be dealt with. Will bad things stop happening? Absolutely not. We're animals. Animals predate. We all have this nature within us. If you believe, as I do, the struggle to climb hierarchies within us is older than trees. It's not going anywhere. Everyone thinks they're a specialist at human behavior, but no one thinks they're a specialist at saying, I don't know. The Constitution, the statutes and codes, badges and guns, all social status stemming from that. Judges, lawyers, I don't care what part of it you fall under. It's all just guns and might makes right. If you participate in it, you help sustain it. Okay, let me move on. I've kind of fleshed out how I feel about all that stuff. So let me move on to some evidence that I'd like to present for your assessment. Even if you disagree with me, that's 100% okay with me. I do not mind. I do not take it personal. I have my beliefs and I think others are wrong, but Everyone does, more or less. This is just the best I've found that I can come up with so far in this life, right? So, allow me to briefly and humbly toot my own horn for a second. It's part of my evidence, okay? It's unavoidable. All this started for me when a police squad raided my home while I was gone on a vacation and stole from me. I had put effort and time, and I needed that money, and they took it all. And I wasn't happy about that. And I know myself, and I know that when I get to that level of unhappy about something, I do something about it. And quite often, it may or may not be something you'd approve of. But I wasn't going to let them win. What? No, you can film me, that's fine. I'm just ranting to myself, it's no big deal. So, it was either find a way to beat them through words, or I'm going to make one hell of an exit. I'm going to make a point that will get my point across internationally, and I'll put all my efforts toward that. Well, lucky for me, I was able to discover that, oh, these people can be beaten with words. I just need to learn how. And through that process and the aid of a great friend who taught me a lot of this, I was able to, over 14 months, and oh, by the way, it would have taken maybe 4 or 5 months less than that if I hadn't stuck to my guns about the Constitution in the beginning, just to mess with them. Anyway, 14 months, all charges were dismissed. All right, 3 lawyers they forced on me. I got rid of all 3. It was, Furry Potato is over there filming me to answer your question. It was, 3 lawyers, got rid of them. It was a hearing every 4 to 5 weeks. All kinds of shenanigans. It started out with a Class A misdemeanor. They bumped it up into circuit court just to waste my time by trying to gather information from me, whether I would answer or not. Up in circuit court, and then once they found out, uh-oh, this guy's going to be convincing in front of a jury, oh crap, they bumped it back down to district court. The prosecutor dismissed all those charges but filed new ones. I mean, he lessened the degree, the severity, down to like a Class C misdemeanor, making a jury not even possible. Therefore, I would have to be in front of a judge, no jury, and we all know how that would go down. I would get steamrolled into a guilty verdict, right? So all I'm doing is calling this out. Now, you can't just call it out any way, nilly-willy. You have to call it out in a way that if they're going to bully you, looks really bad for them in front of the sheep. Now, is this something I prefer to develop and get good at? Absolutely not. I'd much rather spend my time learning how to pull out a Japanese samurai sword and chopping heads off. Right? That's what I'm what I am. That's what I would normally do. But life is just such that you have to use words and convince sheep, who deserve the government they have, by the way, in their cowardice. And I'm telling you, that's how I was able to do it. And I was using voluntaristic and anarchistic language and principles, concepts, strategies, tactics, the whole 9 yards. That's what freed me. That's what got them to dismiss all charges. And they didn't just do it with a quiet little letter in the mail. I gave them one and only one out, because I didn't want them to get away with any other excuse as to why I won. I wanted to dictate how I won, the manner of my victory. All right? And that came in the form of a motion to dismiss based on the prosecution failing to provide any factual evidence whatsoever regarding the element of jurisdiction. Now that sounds like crazy talk. What are you talking about? Jurisdiction is already settled. By golly, you live within the certain boundaries we drew, therefore it all applies to you whether you like it or not, whether you consented to it or not, whether or not you believe in our religion of statism or salute the flag or not, or whether you want to live in society or not, it all applies to you. I won hammering on that over and over and over and over and over and over again. I'm telling you that's how I won. Now, At the time when I got that dismissal, and I got it by a judge resurrecting it when it had already been denied by another judge, giving it another shot, letting the prosecutor stumble all over himself because he did not see this coming, and then granted a motion in an American courtroom to dismiss all charges up to a Class A misdemeanor, which was a year in jail threat and $3,000 fine, because the prosecution had failed to provide any factual evidence regarding this element of jurisdiction. It wasn't because I appealed to an oath. It wasn't because I appealed to an amendment or a constitution or case precedent or the Supreme Court or the President of the United States or any other such religious lingo from the state. It was because I challenged the jurisdiction of the court itself. If you come to understand the concept of jurisdiction and the international perspective of it, you will understand more clearly exactly what I'm talking about. International courts, they very much deal with the issue of jurisdiction. Hey, do we get to fine these people for environmental pollution? Hey, do we get to impose upon these alleged war criminals? Jurisdiction is discussed. It is determined. It is up for a determination process. And that falls under the requirements of the disciplines of logic and ethics. It's supposed to. That's what they say in writing. That's what they sell. That's what they pretend it is. If what I'm saying is so silly and ridiculous, why do military courts do exactly what I'm talking about? If you go into a military court as a quote-unquote service member and ask the prosecution, have you provided any factual evidence regarding the element of jurisdiction? They will say, yes, we have. And here is a copy of it. And we're ready to proceed, Your Honor. And that copy will be a document that you signed. Your signature is where all your power is, whether or not you know that, or whether or not you have an appreciation of the consequences of it. You signed it, and you said you would abide by the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Obviously, that's different than the civilian version. So you have given consent to the UCMJ to rule over you. Now, before I move on from that, I will mention that obviously, unless both parties to a contract have a full appreciation and knowledge of every intricate detail of said contract, then that contract is null and void. Unless you understand it completely, the implications of it. Even if you sign it, ethically it's null and void. So even military members are technically off the hook. Because, having been one, just one day they give you a Bible-sized stack of papers to sign. In one day. It takes hours and hours and hours and hours just to glance over and sign them. Do they give you a lawyer? Absolutely not. Do they give you any education in law? Absolutely not. Because it's all written by bar members who are just using military members as international cops, just like the ones inside the building I'm pointing this camera at. But the point is, of course, if I'm so silly about my element of jurisdiction in civilian courts, why do they do it in military ones? If I was so silly, they just wouldn't even bother. They would just say, hey, you're in the military, so this applies to you. They don't say that. But the civilian side says, hey, these laws apply to you. These statutes and codes, they apply to you. The Constitution applies to you because you're within our borders. Even though foreign diplomats, it probably wouldn't apply to them. They can do whatever they want. They have immunity. Cops, judges, they have qualified immunity. They can be guilty of crimes on the books, but they're immune to them, obviously, for obvious reasons. So their claim that this automatically applies to you because we call you a resident or a citizen or any other of their voodoo words, and so we're going to impose upon you with cages and guns, obviously doesn't hold up to logic or ethics. And you don't have to believe me. Why? Because I'm not ultimately claiming anything. I'm not saying, hey, this is what I think, and it's different, and I think you should do it that way. I don't even have to do that. This position is so powerful, I don't even have to come up with claims, my own ideas. I certainly don't have to use insults. I certainly don't have to use logical fallacies like ad hominems, a conclusion drawn from flawed sources. Oh, I got that mixed up with non sequiturs, sorry. See, brain fart. An ad hominem is just saying, oh, what you're saying is irrelevant because insult. What you're saying is not true because irrelevant insult. Those are just two common examples. If you don't know what logical fallacies are, you are at an extreme disadvantage in life. One of the best things you can do to educate your children and yourselves is to know logical fallacies inside outwards and backwards. Everyone uses them and they don't know it. You can instantly defeat any bullshitter when you're on the side of truth by knowing this stuff. It was a great help and in great part to my success in that courtroom. I didn't know at the time how rare the style of victory that I got was. I didn't know at the time. I got introduced to it with that charge. I beat that charge. And I had yet to have the experience of seeing that that was not going to happen again. There was another charge. They yanked me off the street for free speech with no warning. Sound familiar? Because I was poking fun at the cops for accepting bribes and driving very nice vehicles, outnumbering our little caravan 12-5, armed to the teeth. I was using comedy, and I was speaking to the crowd that was gathering in the middle of Hilo, Hawaii, and convincing them that this is all bullshit. Oops. See, I got a little bit angry there. That's you don't have to do that. I've done that before. And they could see that. They could sense that. And that's why they yanked me off the street, so that they could show, oh, this is what happens to you when you defy us. What was I defying? Some friends didn't have the right numbers on stickers on the back of their cars that give up crazy amounts of privacy, that destroy the sacred dignity of the individual, that degrade humanity as a whole. And those charges were dismissed within 3 months by a letter. Because they knew I was bringing the same damn thing to the table, and I did. And these judges were like, I want no piece of this. By the way, speaking of recordings, get creative. Where there's a will, there's a way. Use technology. Use friends. There are ways to record what happens inside courtrooms and cop stations. I can't say, obviously, otherwise I would give them the information they need to come up with an effective counter. But I can record anywhere I want. And there's nothing they can do about it. And then once I get that recording, I can put it on YouTube and they won't do a thing about it. I've had multiple judges threaten me with jail if I put things up on YouTube. And I do it anyway. Why? Because they're bluffing. I know a bluff when I see one. Not only logically, but because I played poker for 13 years and still do. It doesn't hurt. They were bluffing, and they'll be bluffing with all of you. What are they really going to do? Hey, we're going to charge you with a criminal charge because you just wanted to record the audio only of your own hearing so you could better defend yourself in the future as you stand here without the assistance of counsel while we try to force a coercible bar member upon you, which is just another one of our cronies to manipulate you with. Are they really going to charge you with that? That charge, I've yet to see that kind of charge come up because somebody recorded audio only of their own hearing, put it up on YouTube, and then caught a charge. They don't want that charge to get out because then people would be made know, they would know that that's possible to do. So they threaten me with it, I do it anyway, and then on the way out of the courtroom I say, see you on the internet, and they do nothing. This all comes from anarchism, the true meaning of the word, the true source of the word, not the propaganda version. Get the propaganda version out of your head. and voluntarism, which points at voluntary interactions. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. We don't want to run society by pointing guns at people. We don't want to run society by stealing their money and their property and threatening them. That's awful for us all. Have you been a victim of crime, of a legit crime with a violent crime, or a crime with an actual victim? What are the chances that the oppression of the state led to a situation that caused that perpetrator to commit that crime? And if the state wasn't built on violence and barbarism and neglect, would that perpetrator have even been motivated to reach that state in the life where he became that perpetrator? We just have no concept of the Hydra effect in this. One wrong action leads to 8 bad solutions or consequences, and then they spiderweb out in 3 dimensions. We just have, our brains are not wired to comprehend this. But that is exactly what's going on. All of us, every single one of us, can look back at our lives and consider the totality of the damage inflicted upon us because of the nature of the coercive power of the state. The government, whatever word you want to use that points at the men with guns and the decision-making string pullers at the top and all the order-following yes men and women in the middle. This chief thinks that he can speak to me in a way that, oh yeah, I'm in it for your, I sincerely care about you, I want you to get your phone back, I care about the situation, I can't have these people at my police station doing this, I can't have this. It's all a joke. I hear him say the words, and this is what I want to say to him, but I can't. I've learned that I can't go in this direction because he'll interrupt me, because the direction that I'm going is outside of his approved box. And it's not personal to the chief. All of them do this. They all interrupt, deflect, distract, ignore, attempt to get you to abandon that line of questioning. And judges do the same thing. Man, if you can beat judges, everyone underneath them is easy as cake. They will not be able to withstand the words that come out of your mouth. Whether you're in the lobby of an off-hours police station with a bunch of cameras pointing at you through the glass chanting phone, 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 or if you're on a county council microphone speaking truth to a bunch of sheep and politicians, neither of who think you're in your right mind. There's no point in trying to talk sense to him. To the chief here, I would say, to continue what I was saying, is I tried to hint at him a little bit, and he only took a little bit of it before cutting me off. Under no circumstance do I believe that any chief of any police department in anywhere in the country gives a shit about me or the citizens ultimately. And if they do, it's mainly only to protect their own public image. Most of them don't even have a conscience. Most of them, their brains aren't wired to feel one. And I don't know how much responsibility they bear in it. I really don't care. I'm dealing with the consequences of it. The government, the state knows the effect that the internet will have on society. They know that people are now able to capture truth, jury, convincing, irrefutable truth, live streaming on cameras. Do you think, if I didn't have this camera and this technology didn't exist, do you think they would let me rant like this in front of their building during off hours? No, hell no, of course not. Get the hell out or I'm going to beat you up. The government knows this is the direction we're going. They know we're going to compare notes and get better and better and better and better. And they're just doing everything they can to prepare for it. Everything they pull is just a PR stunt. Everything they say will try to ridicule and give the appearance that all anarchists are out of their mind, violent, disaffected people who weren't able to thrive in this society, and so they want to rebuild another one where they have a second chance. Not true. So, for all of you who are within this movement, who watch this video 40 minutes in, I'm going to speak to you now. I have heard every story under the sun. I have talked to so many people. There is nothing that you could say to me that I am hearing for the first time. In fact, I've heard it many times before. And you coming up to me and telling me about your statist-approved solutions or what the government did to you and how horrible it is, I've heard a dozen times before. It's like telling somebody the same story over and over and over. I'm just being polite. But you're not being helpful. And I don't really want to have the conversation, to be honest. That's why I said I was going to say some things you may not like, and if you want to unsubscribe to me, that's fine. If you're not willing to listen, if you're not capable of civil discourse, if you're not willing to adjust your views to something that makes more sense to you, your own innate sense, not my sense, your sense. What I'm saying is so powerful, I believe your own inner sense will agree with me. I don't have to do any convincing. If you're not open to that, you're limiting your effectiveness. I'm telling you. Name one person who's been more effective than I in a courtroom without the assistance of counsel. Name one. I've looked. Anyone? Anyone kick a judge's ass as bad, get him running for the recess room, unplanned, calling the superior, saying, how do I deal with this one? Where in the rule book does it say how to deal with anarchism? I've looked up their rule book about how to deal with resistance, and there is no chapter on anarchists that come from my direction. There is no guidance. Because the only guidance possible would be you have to use the guns. We're a legalized fraud. And that's the truth of it. And so the only solution to being called out as such is the might makes right. They're not going to put that in their guidance book for judges. They even have to sell their illusion of bullshit to judges so they can look themselves in the mirror and not put a revolver in their mouth. If they had any conscience, if they had any humanity. This isn't about a constitution or protecting your rights or exercising your rights. Your rights don't exist. Our enemies don't believe in rights. They know they don't exist. It's so obvious they don't exist. If I had a right to free speech, why the fuck did they come up with the rule just now to get me to not be able to? Because they're afraid of these words. They know I can convince the sheep better than them. And there's nothing they can do about it. And there's no ego in that. It's a bittersweet thing that is not awesome all the time. God damn it. See, I'm interrupted by people yelling and screaming and shit, using all kinds of language, probably at a cop, and do you think that's effective? No. Oh, James, good on you, kid. I stand corrected. I stand corrected. I thought there would be some cops out here and there was a confrontation. Good. I'm glad to know that. Anger causes mistakes. Anger plays into the statist hand. Here, I'm going to put you down for a second. As someone who is knowingly very susceptible, or has been in the past, to anger, I can tell you that, yeah, anger is of the state. If you are angry, you help the state. You play right into their hand. You give them an ace right off the top of the deck. You don't want to give your opponent an ace. The opposite of anger is, of course, comedy and laughter. Anger comes from fear. Comedy comes from not only confidence, but confidence from success. And when you lack all fear in a room where everyone else is very afraid and would be even more so afraid to say the words that are coming out of your mouth, and you're not afraid, you win. You win. In every way it's possible to win. They see it in your eyes, they see it in their eyes. Just think about your life, and when things got really unnecessarily difficult, the influence that the state had upon it. You can be angry about that. That's one way. Or you can, you know what, hey, it's so much easier to have a more difficult, insanely more difficult human life than what I've had. Why don't I just try and be at peace in the moment? If I can just be at peace in the moment, all of that prior nastiness will have such a lesser effect on me. And gosh, if I can even come from a place of laughter, of laughing at the malevolence even, beyond the tragedy, I can have a power over them that they will never know. And a power over them that cannot be bought or bribed or sold. I mean, I'll share a little bit of personal stuff here. How about that? I had a less than fully informed beginning to my adulthood. And in that naivety, I married someone who was wrong for me. And 3 years later, I decided, in my young silliness, that things were stable and good enough to have a child. And so I did. And when life turned out that I was not, no human is really strong enough or capable enough to completely change another in ways that need to be changed in order to have a successful relationship to any degree or anything called trust, I was faced with a horrible, horrible, horrible decision. One that I wouldn't even wish on Chief Joseph, because I lacked the strength to keep this horrible decision from pretty much destroying everything about my life for the next 5 years, which is a long, long time. And the decision, of course, was, do I stay in a military who I know is murdering innocent men, women, and children, and stay married to this person just so I can be around my child, or do I get out of an unhappy, that'll never be happy, marriage and get out of this dream career that I worked so hard, blood, tears, and sweat, and was really, really good at? Way better than average. And that decision was forced because of a judge. A judge told me that those were my options. And both the government and the military side of the government did nothing to ease that decision. And they've threatened me ever since. And despite all logic, all ethics, all history, all best interest of the child entirely, they said, you will be separated from your child, and there's not a thing you can do about it. And, you know, for me, that was a big one, obviously. And that was a judge. Now, I don't want our children to be ruled over in this way. I certainly don't want to be ruled over this way in the future. And I can just tell you 100%, I've had my share of relationships in the 14 years since I've been divorced. I've had a handful of women who wanted to marry me and have kids with me. And no. I will never, ever do that again. Because of just how ridiculously painful it was and how powerless I was. And that judge didn't really care. And the military didn't really care. I was a malfunctioning cog in the machine. And that's a tiny example of what it's like for countless others. And it's way worse for others. How have judges negatively, unnecessarily affected your life? Against all reason, rational thought, logic, ethics, all of it. I will never again involve government anything in my romantic life, ever again. I will never again, even though I'm more than capable of it for many years still, of having a child when I'm in a place that is powerless to protect or raise it. What up, homie? You having a good time?
It's hot.
It is hot. That's why I'm doing the shade game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here protesting.
Yeah.
We got signs we're walking around. We're protesting, y'all. We're protesting. I pressed the button multiple times. I don't know what it does. It's got a camera. Look at that, guys.
It just never gets old, does it? That's why we all love Bao.
What you said, piggy. Yeah.
Now, of course, if I had known back then what I know now, things would have been a little different. So let me, I wanted to share a little bit of personal information, okay? Big whoop-de-doo. I'm just saying, all of that is the result of words like democracy and republic and Congress, presidents, judges, lawyers, attorneys, police, all of the CPS, all of those entities don't exist in a voluntary society. I am not so afraid of human beings that I think if there were no government, oh my gosh, we need to worry about food and water. When cool people get together, they come up with solutions. We've been doing it for a long time. That's how we got this far. We're not lone wolves. We are pack animals. We have a natural inclination for cooperation. And they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know anything about the natural animal that you are. You are a robot working a job within a cube. That is your role. So, none of this is necessary. State-run police, unnecessary. Politicians, unnecessary. Representation, unnecessary. We have the internet. We have cryptocurrency. These technologies are emerging that are negating government necessity. Do we need to protect our borders? Absolutely. And I tell you from experience, there will be no shortage of men who are willing to even volunteer to put on that mantle, to take on that responsibility of actually defending the country against aggression of those who would take rather than make. I am not worried about that. The psychopaths in society are a genetic anomaly, and most of them are created through horrible childhoods that would not happen nearly to the degree that they do now within anarchism. 9 out of 10 people want to work together and succeed and thrive and educate their kids and make life better than they found it. Yes, maybe 1 out of 10 is a predator. I think we can deal with them. This is not some zombie apocalypse where if you don't protect yours, it's going to be stolen by the next closest human. That's not how humanity works. That's not how we evolved this far. So take your constitution and shove it up their ass. I can write a better one, and so can you. Can we not come up with better ideas? Clearly other countries are running programs in a way that result in far better benefits to society, and you can see that in the statistics, than the ones we're using. So, alright, ethics, what are we supposed to do about it? Great speech, great rant, what are we supposed to do about it? Well, ideally, you can do something like this. Point cameras at authority, but I understand that you can't if your life is such that it can be coerced. And that I enjoy a level of luxury because I have set up my life to where no one can coerce me. More or less. And so, I'm pointing a camera at them. And why do they hate it so bad? Because they know full well what they're getting away with. They know what they've been getting away with. They have pressure from above that tells them you need to maintain this form of order so that we can keep getting away with this. And if you think Mayor Chris Riley is not hip to all of this, you're a fool. She is as much a player and pawn as the chief. So don't get angry. Try and keep a perspective. Insults, four-letter words, middle fingers, they don't do any good, but scare sheep away, and the sheep, unfortunately, are where our power still is. Temporarily, I think. If you're in this movement and you come up to talk to me and you mention things about, oh, we work the system and judges are, like came with this decision favorable to us, and yay Constitution, and yay July 4th, and yay I'm gonna pledge my allegiance to a piece of cloth or nylon. In my head, I'm thinking that poor child. That poor child who is still relying on daddy government to ensure his security safety blankie feeling while he sucks his thumb. You can do it. You can get out on your own. You can buy a gun. You can protect yourself. You don't need a flag. You don't need nationalism. You don't need tribalism. I want to be on the winning team. I'm kind of weak. I'm kind of weak and I want to be part of a strong team. Let's see, what's a good, powerful team around I can join? Oh, I've got to put up with some nonsense and become a liar? Accept some bribes? Okay. Hey, at least I'm on the winning team. Yay, I'll be able to have kids. Bang my wife a few times when I get home from work. Alright. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to progress. I don't know how to, change what is now into a voluntary society. You think I know? I don't. I'm only doing what I'm compelled to do. And stop calling me a hero, for one thing. God, I can't stand it. Do you call an ant walking along a path a hero? No. I do a bunch of dumb shit sometimes. I do not put out 100%. Not even close, really. It's not heroism. It's not anything that is so extraordinary you can't do it. Grab a camera, point it at someone that claims they have authority, especially if they have a gun in their hip or a gavel in their hand. You want to find out who actually rules over you? Find out who you can't criticize. That's a saying that's been around a long time. I know I'm missing the protest out there. I'm doing my own version in here. A small fraction of people over there agree that anarchism is the most sensical, most rational, the most effective way to transform society into something that we all can be proud of and want to work toward with a straight face while telling the truth, God forbid. But mad props out to all those people. I mean, whether or not you agree with me on these points, if you're trying to hold government accountable, man, you get a fist bump from me. I am on team you. I just don't want you to try and explain your constitutional nonsense in my direction. We're not going away, Chief. We're not going away, Mayor. We're not going away, sheeple of Leon Valley. You will allow our cameras in this room. You will allow our cameras in all publicly accessible areas. You will allow us to make audio recordings at least of our own hearings, and you will allow us to choose our own assistants of counsel. Fuck your bar. Oh, you will do this. You will do this. It's just a matter of time. You may be too clueless or old-fashioned to realize this, but YouTube is the revolution. The internet is the revolution. And it's going to give something to humanity that it's never enjoyed before, which is, again, access to irrefutable, live streaming, globally, truth. And all prior governments have relied upon, in order to survive, lies and manipulations. Oh my gosh. Alright, I'm done with my rant. I have no idea why you listen to such just a one-sided, what's the word? Narcissistic rant. But whatever. That probably built up over the last 5 days of having to listen to constitutional nonsense over and over and over and over and over again. Just trying to dodging conversations and people and just going and doing my own thing, man. Because then I have full control over, around men with guns, the risks involved. I want to give a special thank you to Rika, the voluntarist, who has been, no one has been a more supporter of both myself personally and my efforts and my channel. Her and I and her husband are all on the same page as far as all of these views, pretty much. I think she's a wonderful person and a mother, and she runs my mod squad. So I let Rika make all the decisions about who my moderators are going to be. And I will just let you know that as of right now, they are her and Ladybird. Congratulations, Ladybird. If you want to call it that, congratulations. Maybe it's a curse, I don't know. Maybe I'm silly. And one of those guys. If you want to be a mod, you gotta pass Rika. Don't even ask me. Alright, I trust her 100%. And I have no stronger ally. And I just can't express how much I appreciate her. And she even knows I crack jokes about women all the time. And she knows I'm just, I'm just speaking generally, not about every single woman. So she takes it well and dishes it back. And I'm just really glad for her. And her husband's a badass too, Ralph. I love him to death. They're good people. And I think if you dig and you find some anarchists, you'll find that they are decent people who care more about just themselves, They care about what's happening to other people because they realize too that if it happens to them, it could happen to you. And if good people become bad people because of a bad government, that will land on you and your children. So, gosh, I don't know. I just want to end this kind of as humbly as I can. I'm sorry for my flaws. I know I'm not perfect. And I'm just trying as well as I can. That's all it comes down to. If you want to learn how I beat judges, specifically, I'm more than happy to share that with you. I have a Discord server. It's called Socratic Tactics. In my channel of Ethics Instead, there's a video, maybe 1 or 2 dozen back, that has the word Discord in the title. If you click on that and listen to that, you'll get the link to join my Discord server. There are chat rooms in there that could be functioning every day of the week for many, many hours, and there are people more than willing to entertain your questions and clarify any claims we may be making, or to help clarify your own. Whatever it is you want to do. Do you want to meet up and laugh, smoke and joke socially with people who are like this? Cool. You can do that there too. Overall, you know, I'm just trying to get by in this life. I'm just trying to build up my ability to have the influences I want to through the technology available. And that's what I'm focused on. I haven't had any time to make the videos I would normally want to make. You know, I've been just traveling and doing this, and then traveling more, and then sleeping, and then eating, and then doing more of this, like for a week or whatever. And if I had some time, I would have already put out a video that was a big thank you. I wouldn't be down here, you know, I'm not going to risk. What up, man? All of us kind of feel this way, like we would not keep risking jail and court hearings that we have to keep coming back to, especially when they're 4 hours away from home, unless there were people, hey Gary, what up? Unless there were people willing to vote for it, to say, hey, I can't do it, but I want this other person who's willing to do it. And so I'll work a little bit of my time and take that compensation and toss it in their direction. Like the last week has been the first time I have ever had people, I don't even know, I just look at my PayPal account and I'm like, how'd that get there? You know, I'm not saying do that now. Don't do that now. I'm good. Don't do that anymore. Okay, just for the record, don't do that anymore. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying, I just want to say thanks. Generally speaking, now I'm going to be writing emails when I get home to personally thank some people, for sure. I'm sorry it's taken a while, but it will get there, because I really do sincerely appreciate it. I can promise you that me staring at this door right now and getting a reaction and a conversation with the chief about a stupid telephone did not just happen because of me. I would not be here, I promise you, unless people were going, hey, I want to help get ethics to this place. I wouldn't be doing this right now, period. Just like Almost Park. I would have been down in Almost Park, but I had to work. And I'm not good at generating, there's a big part of me that doesn't want to do it, you know? But man, I was happy and tickled to take it. The phone that you're watching this from was a replacement phone that the chief has still currently stolen from me. And you're watching and hearing all this through something that was made possible by people who support this. That kind of blows my mind. So I just want you to take part ownership in it. Like if you don't even have any money, God, I understand that. I've been in that situation. Good Lord. I don't care, right? You're commenting, you're supporting. You know, you're another live viewer that helps protect me when I'm pointing this thing at someone with a gun or a gavel. It's like, you know, I might be the athlete on the field, but I'm not doing this without a coach, without training, without equipment, without support. It just ain't happening. So take some ownership in it, and I hope that you feel a sense of pride that you did do something. You may just be sitting at home going, hey, this is exciting, I just want to watch this for a while in whatever way, shape, or form. But you do help enable part of this. I mean, James too. James is on my top shelf. The dude has common sense. He passes my common sense filter, and very few people do. Right? Bao is amazing. He's a one of a freaking kind. He's very much interested in decent human behavior, and he's hilarious. We are actually quite different in other ways, but we're brothers in the ways that matter. And I really appreciate you all supporting them as well. We've really put your money to good use. We really do treat it with respect. We are not out there blowing it on luxuries, that's for sure. It is gas, lodging, food, equipment. I mean, it all falls into one of those 4 categories. No one's getting hookers, unfortunately. So I hope that you all feel some of that. That's all I'm saying. That's about as big a thank you as I can come up with right now. And yeah, I'm still going to be at it. We're still going to be at it. I'm probably going to be going home tonight and still sticking with the phone calls and YouTube community, and probably coming back down here shortly after that. So I guess that's all I got to say. I say that a few times every video. I think I really mean it this time. Thanks for sticking around. I know I'm not the most interesting person 24/7, but there it is. I appreciate it. I wish I could say more that would suffice. I know that doesn't, but it's all I got right now. So I hope you have a beautiful day and watch the other streams. And I hope we put out something worth your attention. See ya.